What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the We Run on Coffee podcast. I'm Erica,
And I'm Marissa.
and this is our 100th episode.
It
Woo!
is,
I'm
and I'm
so
so
happy that we started
excited.
counting before we got here because we would have
hmm
missed it otherwise. So we
Yeah.
started counting. This is number 100 ever, which is really cool.
Yes, it is very
Yes.
cool.
So Marissa brought us a surprise today. Very
I
excited to
did.
get into it, but we'll wait. We'll do our usuals first before we do that. So, what are you drinking?
I went downstairs and I got a polar water. So
Love.
I have pink apple and lemon polar water.
We do not have that one at my store that I go to.
I feel like you've told me that before, and
Yeah,
I still don't believe you that they
you
don't
need to
have
try
it
it.
because
They
I feel like
discontinued a
I
couple of
see
my
it every
faves too.
time.
I'll have to show you. They discontinued some of my faves too. Like they don't do the ginger lime anymore. And I don't know. It's Meyer, for anyone wondering. It's not like a secret, but they only have like a couple flavors. It makes me sad. So I just keep getting the same ones over and over. I need to go somewhere else, I guess. Is
I
that
feel
one
like
good?
yeah, I like it a lot. I feel like I always get the same ones over and over. I usually get the cranberry lime, I
Yeah.
get the orange vanilla, and I get this one.
Yeah. I think we only have cranberry lime out of those three. And then we have like for options, we have lime, raspberry lime, cranberry lime, all the lime ones, except ginger lime, and black cherry. And then maybe there's grapefruit too, pink grapefruit, but and
Mm.
blackberry mango. Okay, all that to say, whatever. I'm drinking a regular water. Nothing special, you guys, but I'm feeling a little stuffy this morning, so I'm trying to drink a lot of water. Um, so yeah, that's what I'm drinking. I guess we're talking about what we're looking forward to today. So what are you looking forward to in the coming weeks before we see each other again?
My birthday.
Yes, I'm so excited. It's gonna be
So
so fun.
this is gonna be so weird timing wise because my birthday episode will have already
Aired.
came out by the
Yeah.
time that this happens, but by the
Yeah.
time we're recording this, it still is not my birthday, which is weird, thinking of the timing and how that all falls. But I do have my birthday coming up in the next 2 weeks, and I'm
Yes.
excited. I'm going to go to an escape room with some friends, which I'm excited about. And
Yes.
then we're also going to go to this little I think it's technically just a bar, but they have food there and like you can
Oh,
sit
fun.
down and it's called the Boardroom. It's in DC. Well, it's in Arlington, I guess. It's not
Hmm.
actually in DC.
Hmm.
And it has just a bunch of board games. So you can go and
Oh,
like play
fun.
games and stuff while
Yeah.
you get drinks and get food. And I thought that'd be a really good place to go after the escape room
Yeah.
for like dinner and stuff.
Oh, that's a good idea. Do you have a big group going, like a group of your friends and stuff?
There's gonna be 10 of us.
Wow. Oh my gosh, that's
Yeah.
really exciting.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
excited.
all like the regular friends and then their significant others and or
Right.
friends or
Yeah.
whatever. I don't know if they're all technically dating, but they are
Right.
all talking to the people that we're going with. Like
That's
one
funny.
of them is like engaged, one of them's just dating, the other one is like I don't know if they're dating yet. So
That's awesome. That's really funny. Well, that'll be exciting. Oh my gosh, big birthday plans.
I'm so excited.
All right. Is that what you
What are
got?
you? Yeah, what are you looking for?
Hmm.
That's literally the only thing that I have on my calendar until the next time we record. So
That's all right. I usually don't have a
actually,
lot either. Oh,
that's not true. Well, okay, I'll just say it anyways.
say
The
it.
day that we record next,
Oh yeah.
so that will be like a couple days after my birthday, I'm going on a spa day.
That's so exciting. Oh my
I
gosh.
know.
Wait, that'll be so nice.
I think it's technically my Valentine's Day gift from
Mm,
Kyle,
nice.
but it's falling after my birthday just timing
Yeah.
wise. I wanted to go next weekend, but the only time that they had available was Saturday night at 8 p.m. And I was like, I'm not going to the spa at 8 p.m. because I will
Yeah.
fall asleep.
Yeah.
So
You got to
I'm
enjoy
not
it.
doing that. So I'm going at like 4 p.m. this Sunday next that we record.
Nice.
And it's technically a head spa. So it's not
Oh.
like a full spa
Hmm.
experience. So they do like the scalp massage.
Yeah.
They're gonna do a 30-minute facial. There's gonna be a
Ooh.
10-minute lymphatic drainage massage.
Wow.
And I think the head spa part of it is like an hour. So they're gonna like wash my hair. They're gonna like
Oh,
exfoliate my
that sounds really
scalp,
nice.
give me a head massage, which is the part I'm most excited
Yeah.
for.
That sounds dreamy. It's like when you're at the
Uh,
salon, except times 10, way better.
I know. And like I feel like I watch spa videos like on TikTok
Oh, yeah,
sometimes.
that's
Like I
funny.
just find them so relaxing to like watch.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited. I found this place on TikTok actually,
Oh,
and I was
cool.
watching them do the like head spa experience and I was like,
Yeah.
I want that.
Oh, that's awesome. Love that for you.
I
Well,
know
that's
I'm so
exciting.
excited.
I'm pumped for you. I haven't been to like a spa in a really long time, and it sounds really
Yeah.
nice.
I also feel like we didn't talk about Valentine's Day stuff in the last episode. So do you want to talk about what you did for
True.
Valentine's Day?
Yeah, we didn't do a lot to be honest, and we did it early because I didn't get a reservation until last minute, and you're never gonna get a last minute Valentine's reservation. But this is gonna be a random story. I did my taxes, and I get a tax break, I guess, for our mortgage because
Mm.
I'm the one that pays the mortgage in my name. So like the mortgage is
Okay.
in both of our names, but I make the monthly payment. So they gave it to me. I didn't know that that meant Angelo doesn't get the tax break because I got it. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that. So I was like, babe, I'm really sorry. Like, do you want me to split my tax return with you? Like, how do you want to do this? Because I don't want to like take it all. And he's like, how
Yeah.
about you just take me out to dinner? I was like, oh, that's a good. I like that. So I was like, I'll pick something like a little nicer than we normally do. So we went to this place called Valentina's in Columbus, in Dublin, Ohio, actually. And it's a fancier, I guess. It's a Cameron Mitchell restaurant, which I did not
Hmm.
know that till we got there. But like everything in Columbus, I swear, is a Cameron Mitchell restaurant.
Everything
I heard we
is.
have like over 50 or something. That's like a ton.
I also don't think Cameron Mitchell restaurants exist outside of Ohio.
Oh,
So
really? Oh,
I
okay.
think,
I
I
didn't
don't
know
know if
that.
that's true, but I think I've
Yeah.
never heard anybody else use that term, but I know what a Cameron Mitchell restaurant means.
Right, right. Okay, that's interesting. Well, it was just like a nicer place. So I don't know how to say the niceness, but it's like $25 a plate kind of vibe. So
Okay.
we did Italian, or it is Italian. So Angela got like a Sicilian pizza. I asked, so I sat down. She's like, "Do you guys have any allergies?" I was like, "Yeah, actually lactose intolerant." And she's like, "Okay." I said, "Do you have like an allergen menu or something?" And she's like, "Oh, no, no, no. Just pick whatever you want and we'll make it special for you." I was like, what?
So
So I
kind.
know I ordered the bolognese and she's like, okay, great. So no burrata on top. And I was like, yeah. She's like, actually, do you want it on the side so you can eat it? So she said to Angelo and he's like, yes. And I'm like, this girl's good. So she leaves and then she goes back to the kitchen and she came back and was like, I didn't realize that there was dairy in the sauce. So he's just going to make you like his own special sauce, like the chef. I was like, oh my gosh. And it was amazing. So that was awesome. I
Oh,
was like, wow, I really feel like I got what I paid for. Like I got the quality service I paid for.
yeah.
Whatever was so nice. We got like a, what is that called? Like bruschetta, whatever.
Mhm.
I don't like bruschetta, so I told Angela like just order it for yourself and get it normal with dairy because I don't care to eat it. And then I had one bite of it and I was like, oh, I regret it because it was actually the best thing ever. Because I don't really like tomatoes, neither does he, but this stuff was really good.
Yeah. I love bruschetta.
So that's all we did really was do Valentina's. But that's because on our Monday night, we went out to dinner for Angela's birthday. Tuesday night, we did a Valentine's dinner. Wednesday night, we did dinner with Angelo's dad, his other side of the family. Thursday night, we did something else. Oh, my Galentine's. And then Friday, which was actual Valentine's Day, we did like a chores day and we went rucking. So we just had a packed week. But anyways, that's what we did. What'd you guys
Aw.
do for Valentine's?
I don't know yet. It's a surprise and it's happening
Oh,
today.
today? Wait, that's so
Yeah,
exciting.
I
Oh, I'm
don't know what
pumped.
it is. Well, yesterday we went, okay, well, that's not entirely true. On Friday night,
Hmm.
I ordered us dinner and we tried a new place called Taco Bamba, and it's
Ooh,
really good. So,
yum.
highly recommend if you have a Taco Bamba near you, you should try it.
Yeah.
And then yesterday we went and saw the new Captain America movie,
Oh,
which was
fun.
really good. I thought it was really good, but
Yeah.
apparently it sucked. I don't know.
Oh,
I guess I
okay.
don't know the difference between a good and a bad Marvel movie, but
Fair
I
enough.
I liked it.
Yeah.
And then today we're doing the surprise, and all I know is that it's at home. Kyle
Oh.
has to go buy things for it,
Oh.
and I thought it was just making chocolate covered strawberries, so I asked him yesterday, and he was like, "That's just part of it." And I also wasn't
Ooh.
sure that that was a part of it, and I just
Right.
so I don't know what's
He's
happening
like,
today.
it is now, bitch.
I just know it's at home, and that's
Oh, that's
the
fun.
plan.
Yeah, that's really fun. Um, okay. Wait, did I say what I was looking forward to? I don't think I did.
No.
We Valentine tangented, which I love.
Yes.
This week, what I'm looking forward to is finally it's my friend Cheyenne's birthday party. So I'm so excited. Her birthday's actually super close to yours. Her birthday's on the 25th. Um,
Okay.
and so I've been talking about this for a while. Our Okay, this is a Wild West murder mystery birthday party.
Hmm.
So we have a big group of people coming. We're doing it like our community has like a communal clubhouse area thing. So we're doing it there. And Cheyenne and I are going all out with decor, custom signage. Now that it's over in real life, I can tell you guys every guest that's coming to the party, they don't know this yet, but every guest that's coming to the party has a wanted poster. So we customize them, put everyone's own picture on it. And then we would put Arika, better known as Latte Lover, because that's my gamer tag. And then it would be
Oh.
like wanted. Actually, let me see if I can find what mine is really fast for you guys, and I'll tell you what it says. And we made them all super, super custom. So the reason everyone's wanted is very specific to them. And then that's
Okay.
going to be like their party favor that they can take home with them.
That's so fun.
So I think that's going to be really cute and fun. And then we just have tons of different decor. We have a bar menu that I graphic designed, and everything is super
Aw.
themed. And we're going to print out, I guess, the murder mystery game. It's like you print out little scripts and everybody gets a character and you read the script and then play the game as you go. So
Mm.
don't know who the thing is going to be. Okay, so let me show you guys. Mine says wanted for twerking in public. Erica,
Uh,
better known as latte lover. And then it says proceed with caution. Hide your oh, no one's going to get this. Never mind. It's kind of an inside joke, but said hide your kids, hide your wife. Igor is here. That's not going to make sense, which is okay. But
I don't understand.
let's see if I can find someone else that I can share. Okay. My friend Cheyenne says wanted for public intoxication. And we said her name is Cheyenne, better known as Swisher Sweets, because that was literally her nickname in high school.
Oh,
And then it says proceed with caution. Blood alcohol is 0.19%, which is one what's the not the 10th, but the 20th question mark of a
no, the
point
hundredths.
hundredth. I'm like, what is that? Okay, one little whatever less than the deathly level, the lethal level.
Oh,
So they're just funny, and we made them all really personalized. So I can't really read most of them, but we kind of targeted our friends in a way, and we're like
that's really
wanted for
funny.
whatever, you know. So
That's
that's gonna
very
be their party
funny.
favor. It'll be cute, and then we just have a lot of DIYs, which we were supposed to work on today, but it is a snowstorm, so I don't know if we will. Um, so yeah, that's coming up this weekend. We're really excited. It's a really long party. It starts at 3 p.m. and we're gonna go until like 9. And that's because the game that we are buying is it says it could be anywhere from 1.5 to 3.5 hours long. So you
Oh,
have to like really plan for the time span. So yeah, we're gonna have a little country Wild West dinner. So we're doing like actually we're copying Aunt Diane and we're doing chili with baked potatoes because that just is like an
oh,
easy way to feed
yeah.
people. And then everyone's gonna bring a side. We did a drink menu, which all have really fun names. I guess I could show you guys that too. This is about to get really long.
I love
I'll
this.
try to be quick, but let me show you guys. Yeah, the drink menus are really cool. We have a page of like alcoholic drinks, a page of non-alcoholic drinks. So these ones are called the Cowgirl cocktails.
Uh,
Kind of hard to see. Maybe I can put them in when I edit. So we have one called the Western Range Amaretto Sour, just Amaretto Sour,
mm-hmm.
Desert Rose Paloma, a Cowboy Sunrise, which is like a tequila sunrise except vodka, and then Midnight Rider, which is a bourbon drink. And we just made these all up.
Yeah.
Then we have the Sober Saloon Specials. And so we
Aw.
have the John Wayne, which is just an Arnold Palmer. We have sorry. We have the Spurs Up partner. That's a lemonade with grenadine and garnish. And then we have a double A Do, which is a drink that Angela and I made up, which is why it's called double A. So double A
Oh, I was like,
Do.
where does that come from?
That's an amaretto sour, except you replace the amaretto with cranberry juice, which by the way is the
Oh,
best
okay.
mocktail. We've been drinking it like every day. It's so bad. But yeah, those are the drink menus. So we just have lots going on in that aspect, and it's going to be super, super fun.
I like it.
Anyway, that's what I'm looking forward to, this big party. There's so much more to say, but there will be a YouTube video on it. So if anyone's like super
Yay.
interested in seeing all the planning,
Yeah.
I'll link
I
that.
just, I think it's so intriguing and like it's so intricate and I love
Yes, it
it.
is intricate. Like last time we got together, I drew like a whole floor plan of the building and then we put like where we're gonna put the decor. Like we get really into
Yeah.
it and it's just I don't know, we have fun with it. It's something that never gets old. I did finish my costume, by the way, my Wild West costume. So I have like a long brown skirt, a white button down, like kind of loose shirt, and then a corset that goes over top and boots, and it's just really a vibe. I'll see if you can see it. It's definitely super Wild Western.
Oh,
So I'm gonna
I
see if I
like
can find
it.
like some jewelry and accessories to spice it up.
Yeah,
But that's the
that's fun.
vibe. And then also looking forward to this is my last one. I think my friend Taylor, she wasn't here for my birthday, so she's like, I want to give you like a little birthday celebration. We're gonna go do something. I don't know. This is my surprise. I don't know what it is, but she just told me to come to her house and we're gonna do a birthday surprise. So that will be really cute as well.
Yay.
And that's all my updates.
Yay. Okay, are you ready for this
I'm ready, you guys.
surprise?
I have no idea what today's topic is since it's our 100th episode and we wanted to do something fun. We thought would be the perfect time to debut our surprise topic. So throughout
Mhm.
this year, we'll have like a few baked in here and there where we surprise each other. And this is the first one of Marissa surprising me. So I have no idea. I haven't opened the document or anything. So I'm excited.
Yeah. Okay, so this is funny because I also feel like I was so nervous that me and Erica were going to choose the same surprise
Yeah.
topic, which I know that we didn't because
Yeah.
like
I don't
our
think we
minds
did.
don't work the same.
Yeah.
But I am so interested to see how you react when you open up the doc. So now is the time.
Do
Go
it.
and open up the document with the notes.
Okay. Oh, wait, this is really cool.
Isn't
This is
it?
not my topic, but I am excited.
Okay, so for everybody else that didn't get the live reaction, you already know what it is based
Wait.
off of the title,
Right.
probably. But we're gonna be talking a little bit, like just barely scratching the surface with reincarnation and past life stories.
Wow, that's going to
So
be so interesting. Okay.
I just think that it's so fun to look at stories about kids like talking about past lives. Like
Oh,
kids say like
yes.
the craziest things. Like
I've
we
actually,
know.
yeah, I've actually gotten a lot on my Instagram feed recently, like a lot of reels where it's like the kids know that the parent's pregnant before they do, before the parent
Yeah.
knows. I've seen a lot of those and they're like, baby in your tummy. And the mom's like, no. And they're like, baby in your tummy. And the mom's like, no. And then like 2 weeks later, it's they were pregnant all along, had no clue.
Yeah, and I just like, how did kids understand this? And I really
Yeah.
wanted to find out like more of like the maybe like a biological explanation to these things, but the only resource that I could find was a book, and I would have
Mm-hmm.
had to pay for it.
You're like,
And
nah.
yeah, well, like I don't think I would have had enough time to read it and like actually like dive into everything. So that's why I say it's like the most base level and like
Yeah.
very, very like surface level stuff. So I just thought it'd be fun to like originally just wanted to do past life stories. And then
Yeah.
I was like, well, I have to like get into the topic of like why these past life stories might exist.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'll do a little
Hey,
bit more research.
fun. Okay, I'm excited.
So the first part is just reincarnation. What is it? So from like the Merriam-Webster dictionary, it says that
Love.
it is rebirth in new bodies or forms of life, a rebirth of a soul in a new human body. So in some cultures, they think that you can come back in like any form, like
Hmm.
as a
Like an
plant,
animal.
an animal,
Yeah.
a whatever, or some people just think that you come back in like a new body.
Hmm.
And depending on the tradition, these existences may be human, animal, spiritual, or in some instances, vegetable. So that was from one of these sources. Like I think it was Britannica had one
Yeah.
of these sources, like talking about like how
Interesting.
in different cultures, it depends like which culture you're following, which reincarnation like avenue, I guess you go
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
So,
Interesting.
while belief in reincarnation is most characteristic of South Asian and East Asian traditions, it also appears in the religious and philosophical thoughts of local religions and in some Middle Eastern religions.
Hmm.
So, I thought, like, this is I put like a little Marissa's thoughts
Yeah, that's cute.
section, but I was like, so some see the soul as energy. And in science, energy cannot be created or destroyed. So why
Hmm.
not an energy
Good
transfer?
point.
Like,
Yeah,
I
that's
understand that not
interesting.
everybody thinks the soul is
No,
energy,
no.
but
Yeah.
if we do view it like that, why not?
It's a good question. Okay, so I don't think that you'll get into this, but maybe we'll see. You can stop me if so. But have you
Uh-huh.
heard this? Like, I've heard a theory that your birthmarks, wherever you have a birthmarks, like how you died in another life. And I just
Yeah,
always
I
think about
d
that. I'm just like, that's interesting.
I don't get into it too much, but I do have something that talks a little bit about
Ooh.
that.
Okay, when we get into that, we could talk about if we have birthmarks. It's kind of fun.
Yeah. I've always heard that though too. It's like if
Yeah.
I mean I have like you can't even see it on
Uh-uh.
video, but I have three little birthmarks in the shape of a
Oh.
triangle right above my eyebrow. And I'm like,
Okay,
what does that
Illuminati.
mean? What does that mean?
That's funny.
But I wanted to kind of like do this based off of like some religious aspects, some not religious aspects, because
Yeah.
reincarnation is inherently a religious topic.
Okay.
So I feel like the biggest religion we hear it in is Hinduism.
Hmm.
And I was looking at an article, it was actually a scientific journal article from the Indian Journal of Psychiatry. So
Hmm.
I was like, okay, I feel like this is a reputable source to post a scientific journal. You actually have to have sources and stuff.
Right.
So, this is what it says of reincarnation in Hinduism. It says the entire universal process that gives rise to the cycle of death and rebirth is governed by karma and is referred to as samsara. So, karma is an action which may be good or bad. And based off of the type of karma that one does, it chooses the subsequent rebirth. So, for example, if one has done a lot of divine service and has a desire to do more service at the time of their death, their soul would choose a family that is supportive of that desire for rebirth. And
That's
I thought
interesting.
that was really interesting because I never thought of it like in a karmic way. Like I don't know too
Right.
much about karma. Like we all know
Yeah.
like
We
what
say karma.
yeah, like
Yeah.
we know what like karma can be used as in a sentence, but I was like
Right.
that's really interesting to think that like the more good that you want to do in life,
Yeah.
the more like I guess the different body you'd be reborn into.
I feel like actually we need a whole episode on karma. I bet there's a lot
There
of
is
history
probably.
there. Also, if you get tired of reading at any point, you want me to read something, just let me know. But
Okay.
that's really interesting. I like that point. Hmm.
Yeah, and then I feel like I just picked the other. This article talked about a bunch of religions and their
Yeah.
views on reincarnation, but I chose the one that I think was probably the most polar opposite in reincarnation like
Yeah.
thoughts, which was Christianity. So a
Hmm.
lot of people would think that Christianity has like nothing to do with reincarnation because we don't think like we think of an afterlife, we don't think of actually being
Right.
reborn. So I thought that this quote from the article was pretty cool. It says the major Christian denominations reject the concept of reincarnations. Christians believe that when a person dies, their soul will sleep in the grave along with their corpse. This soul sleep continues until a time in the future known as last day, or also known as the final judgment. So I think that's talking about like if you go into purgatory before your soul actually
Mm.
goes to heaven or hell. I
Hmm.
think that that's what it's talking about for final judgment.
Interesting.
Just based off of like my
Yeah.
religious
I don't
like
know either. Yeah.
knowledge. And then it continues to say, but there is evidence in the Bible of Jesus himself teaching reincarnation. However, there was a schism about understanding Jesus himself as a himself in early Christian history. Sorry, I can't read. He a man who became God? Was he God born as a man? The struggle was between the church established by Paul in Rome and the remnants of the Jerusalem church who fled to Egypt after Rome invaded Israel in 70 AD. The Roman faction rejected the pre-existence and reincarnation and believed Jesus was God become man. The Jerusalem faction knew Jesus was a man who achieved the human divine at one moment, which is the goal of everyone to escape reincarnation cycle of birth and death and to have eternal life. However, Rome won the political battle, and the Orthodox definition of resurrection was reduced to an end time of night of the living dead. So I feel like that was kind of a lot of words, but I think it's basically saying that Jesus in the Bible taught of reincarnation, and the big like dividing factor was did Jesus reincarnate as a human
Right.
or like did God reincarnate as Jesus on earth, and like
Yeah.
that's where the divide happened.
And that kind of makes a little bit of sense because I don't know a lot. I don't know a ton about Christianity, to be honest. But if you think about different denominations of Christianity, just off my base level knowledge, like being Catholic versus being Methodist or being Lutheran or being whatever, there's a lot of different denominations, or even being Jewish, people have different beliefs of if God and Jesus are like, are they the same spirit? Like
Hmm.
that kind of divides some of the different facets of Christianity. So it's
Yeah.
interesting.
And I thought that it was interesting just to kind of have that juxtaposition between one religion that really does strongly believe in reincarnation
Yeah.
and one that doesn't, but kind of drawing like the parallel between the two of saying, well,
Right.
like typically Christianity rejects the concept of reincarnation, but inherently we think of the Holy Spirit as an
Right.
energy that can sort of transfer
Hmm.
itself.
That's interesting. Yeah.
So the next part that I kind of went into is reincarnation research. So this is where I wanted to like learn a little bit more of like
Yeah.
if there is any like psychological research or if there was any like biological research based off of it. And this is where it gets into your question or
Yeah.
comment, I guess, a little bit about the like birthmarks and
Fun.
stuff. So this is going to be like an information overload. And I promise that this
Love
is
it.
not all the information that you could have on this.
Oh,
This
for
is where
sure.
I learned about the book that I wanted to read, which I
Okay.
might eventually read.
Yeah.
So there is a psychiatrist named Ian Stevenson, and he is from the University of Virginia. And he is an authority in scientific research on reincarnation. So that's his entire like research focus. He investigated many reports of young children who claimed to be like member or remember their past lives.
Hmm.
So he conducted more than 2,500 case studies over a period of 40 years, and
Whoa.
he's published 12 books on reincarnation, including the one that I want to read, which is called 20 Cases Suggestive of Reincarnation and Where Reincarnation and Biology Intersect.
Interesting.
And
That's
I
a
think
lot.
that's a really long name, but that's because it's a scientific like
Right.
paper study that he like published. But I think that that just sounds so interesting to me. Like, where do reincarnation and biology intersect? And I'll go into this a little bit more later, but he like researched the past life stories that somebody was saying
Yeah.
and found historical accuracy of the stories that they were
Oh,
saying.
wow. That's cool.
And I was like, that obviously takes so much work because
Right.
you have to like find
No,
all of the
2,500 case
connections.
studies is really hard to fathom. Like
Yeah.
that's crazy.
And this book, I think it was published in 1967. I know it was
Hmm.
in the 60s. So his period of research started in the 20s. And
Dang.
I was like, that's kind of crazy that you
That
started this
is
research so, I guess, what I would consider early
a
in
long time ago.
time.
Yeah, yeah.
So Stevenson methodically documented each child's statements and then identified the deceased person the child identified with and verified the facts of the deceased person's life that matched the child's memory. And I was like, that's kind of
That's
crazy.
really crazy.
And this is the part that you were saying. He also matched birthmarks and birth defects to wounds and scars in the deceased to
Whoa.
and verified them by medical records such as autopsy photographs in a book
What?
called Reincarnation in Biology.
What? Wait, that's nuts. I was not
I
expecting that.
I thought that was the craziest part. So sort of like you were saying, like birthmarks, or in
Yeah.
this case, they mentioned birth defects as well.
Yeah.
They sort of used those to tie together the past life with the child's story.
That's so interesting.
I know. That's why I was so
Okay.
interested by this.
Okay, do you have any birthmarks besides the three?
Yeah, I have a big birthmark. It's probably like this thick and
Mm-hmm.
like this long on the back of my thigh.
Interesting. I have one on the back of my calf. So I have like a perfect circle on the back of my calf.
That's
Really
a
weird.
bullet wound for sure.
Something, yeah. And then I have on my back, I have a couple, I think. I have one like tramp stamp
Oh.
birthmark, I think. I think. And I think it's just like a oddly shaped circle. But one I really realize is that on the back of my shoulder, I have like little sparkles. It's actually really interesting. And like
Hmm.
it almost looks like the sparkle emoji, the three little yellow sparkles.
Yeah.
Kind of like that shape. So just
Are they
interesting.
like moles, like they're raised, or are they just
No,
flat?
I don't think you're gonna be able to see it, but no, it's just like my skin, but just a different color, like a
I have a lot of like freckles, I guess, on like my
yeah,
upper arms and stuff,
yeah.
but and like a couple on my hands, I think, but not anything like
So interesting.
crazy. Kyle has
Right.
a really cool birthmark, and I don't
Oh.
know if you've ever like seen it because you can really see it when his shirt's off, but it
Oh.
goes across his chest and then down his shoulder and like on his back, and
Whoa.
it's kind of like I don't know, like patterned a little bit, I
Wait,
guess.
that's interesting.
It's
Yeah.
really cool.
That's really interesting. Wonder what that was.
I know. It's probably a burn mark or something.
Dang.
But I also think that it's important to point out here that a lot of stories of past lives is based off of kids
Right.
because a kid is a lot closer to the conception of life
Yeah.
than an adult is, and oftentimes it's considered that people lose their past lives as they go older. And I feel like
Mm-hmm.
that's a fair point. Like if reincarnation is real and somebody is remembering a past life, the farther away you get from that past life, the harder it's going to be to recall that story.
No, it makes total sense. And they always say too that kids are just generatively, what am I saying? Generally more open-minded in a
Mm,
way. Like we can, as adults, think we're open-minded, but we've lived so much life that we've gotten used to what life is at this point. So kids are like, I've
yeah.
heard them say like kids are more, I don't know, not even malleable in the brain, but like more open-minded to like they just receive stuff and they don't think about it the way that
Yeah.
we would. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So, continuing about this guy, Ian Stevenson,
Yeah.
he searched for disconfirming evidence. So, like
Okay.
those autopsies and things that would be like the opposite of like his study saying like these actually match, and alternative explanations for the reports of these children. And he believed that his strict methods ruled out all possible normal explanations for the child memories. So they had to have
Interesting.
came from another source. However, a significant majority of Stevenson's reported cases of reincarnation originated in Eastern societies, where dominant religions often permit the concept of
Right.
reincarnation. So he was often more in like those Eastern Asian countries that do like keep this as a part of their religious like practices. So following that type of criticism, he published a book on European cases of reincarnation type.
Okay.
So he took that like criticism, I guess, and tried to find more studies in areas that don't necessarily practice reincarnation.
Hmm.
So he concluded that reincarnation was the best possible explanation for the following reasons. And this is from the book, The
Ooh,
20 Cases Suggested of Reincarnation and Where Reincarnation and Biology Intersect. I feel like that's such a long title.
it really is. It's a mouthful.
So he said that the large number of witnesses and the lack of apparent motivation and opportunity due to the vetting process make the hypothesis of fraud extremely unlikely. And I
Yeah.
think that that also comes from a point of like a child. How is a
Yeah. Like,
child
what do
just
they have
gonna
to
like what are they
gain?
gaining from
Yeah.
being fraudulent?
That and like, where would they learn all this very specific information?
Yeah, it's weird like to think about, but I was like, there's no way that a child can just like I mean, kids are great at storytelling, but
Right.
not if he's
Like, with
finding the
so much
historical
accuracy.
accuracy.
Yeah.
So he also said the large amount of information possessed by a child is not generally consistent with the hypothesis that the child obtained the information through investigated contact between the families. So
Mm.
if they if there's like this connection between one family of the person that had passed and then reincarnated in this child,
Yeah.
it's not generally consistent that they dug out that information.
Mm-hmm.
He also said demonstration of similar personality characteristics and skills not learned in the current life and lack of motivation for the long length of identification with the past life make the hypothesis of the child gaining his recollections and behavior through extrasensory perception improbable. So I think this is talking about the case of somebody like waking up as a child and they know an entirely different language that they've never
Mm.
heard
Mm.
before.
Okay.
Like that's there's no way that a child can just learn a language overnight
Right.
if they've never been exposed to it.
Hmm.
And then, when there is correlation between congenital deformities or birthmarks possessed by the child and the history of the previous individual, the hypothesis of random occurrence is improbable. While improbable, I think that it's also fair to say that it could
It's
be
possible.
possible.
Yeah. That's fair.
So, in general, with children remembering past lives, some young children, usually between the ages of 2 and 5, speak of these memories that they have from a previous life that they claim to have lived. But at the same time, they often show behaviors such as like phobias or preferences that are
Mm.
unusual within their context of like their particular family dynamic, and they can't be explained by any current life events. So, it's like a child just waking up and being scared that they're going to be shot. Like that's not
Mm-hmm.
something that a child
It's
usually
not
wakes
normal.
up and thinks. So
Yeah.
that like phobia is like not learned, I guess. It's something
Yeah.
that they have like deep down. So some things that kids say the damnedest things. You're not my mommy or
It's
daddy.
so creepy, actually.
Yeah.
Like, think about that in the context. Like, oh, a little creepy. If my kid came up to me and said that, I would be like, why?
Why?
Why am I not your mom?
Yeah, the other one is I have another mommy or daddy, which I feel like could accidentally cause some like strife in
Yeah.
between of
Yes.
like the family unit of being like,
Like,
well,
who's your other
is
daddy then?
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Or them saying when I was big, I used to
Mm,
have blue eyes, or I used to have a car, or I worked
yeah.
downtown. It's like, well, you've never been
Interesting.
big, so what are you talking about?
Right.
That happened before I was in mommy's tummy. I feel like I
Yeah.
hear that a lot in like past life stories. And
Same.
it's like, well, what do you mean before you were in my tummy? I've
Yeah.
also heard stories of kids remembering the time in the womb. Like
Yes. I have heard that too.
when I was looking up stories, which we're gonna get into stories later,
Ooh.
um, I was like reading these ones and it was like, oh, it was so warm and cozy, and then being born was like scary and cold. And I was like,
Yeah.
that's so traumatizing
That
to
is.
remember that.
Dang.
Some kids also say I have a wife, a husband, children, and I'm like,
Wow.
okay, that's crazy. But I also feel like some kids, I was actually watching something the other day, and it's like kids not understanding the concept of marriage for what it's for, and they're like, well, I
Yes.
want to marry my dad because they just know
Yes.
that
I've
that
seen that a
means
lot.
love.
Yeah.
Kids saying I used to drive a truck, live in another town when they've actually never moved or driven
Hmm.
because they're a child. Saying that they died in a car accident after I
That's another
fell.
creepy one. Like, imagine your
That would
kid
be
just saying that
so
to you.
scary. Like, how do you parent at this moment?
No, literally.
And then the last thing that it says is that they could say, I remember when I was your dad, when I lived in that other
Yeah.
house, or other situations like that.
Wow. Okay, that's so interesting.
I know. Okay. Are you ready for story time?
Yes, this is fun. I'm excited.
Okay. So the first one is the case of James. How would you say that?
Leininger? Leininger?
Leininger?
Laning, Leininger, maybe? I
Sure.
don't know.
So James was a boy from Louisiana. When James was just 2 years old, he started having nightmares, screaming about a plane crash and saying things like airplane on fire, little man can't get out. At first, his parents thought it was just a phase or something that he would grow out of, but his nightmares persisted and James began sharing details that no toddler should know. He mentioned a specific type of plane, a Corsair,
Oh my
and
gosh.
even recalled a ship named the Natoma.
That is
So
very
it's
specific.
so specific. So,
Yee.
curious and concerned, his father, who didn't believe in reincarnation, started
Okay.
researching. And to his astonishment, he found that there had been a World War II aircraft carrier named the USS Natoma Bay. And James was also named, they found a pilot named Jack Larson and said that he had been shot down near Iwo Jima.
Whoa, so
I
weird
was
that the
like,
kid has the same name.
yeah. And I was like, that or he had named a fellow pilot. So he had named like a friend that he had
Oh.
in his past life, I guess.
Oh, oh,
But
oh.
we're getting to that. He actually did have the same name. So after
Oh.
further digging, the family discovered that a pilot named James Houston Jr. had died in the exact same way that James described. And
Oh
the
my
details lined
gosh.
up so perfectly that even skeptics struggled to explain
Two
it.
years old is crazy.
I know. And like, I like just the parents, like you don't usually get outside feedback when you're
Right.
choosing a name for your child. Like
Yeah.
obviously you look through like the books or the list or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, like you get name inspiration from somewhere, but
Right.
they didn't know that this
Yeah.
would happen.
That's so interesting.
It is so interesting. There's another story about a girl named Shanti Devi, and she was a girl from India. And then in the 1930s, at just 4 years old, Shanti began telling her parents about her real home
Hmm.
called Mathura, where she claimed to have lived with her husband. She even provided specific details about her previous life, including her husband's name and her death during childbirth.
Whoa.
Her story gained so much attention that the Mahatma Gandhi himself set up an investigation. Remarkably, when Shanti was taken to Mathura, she recognized her former husband who was still alive and recalled intimate
What?
details about their life together, things that she could not have possibly have known. Her former family was stunned, and the account remained one of the most well-documented cases of reincarnation.
That's wild. Not the person still being alive. That's really
Yeah,
interesting.
because it said that she had like the person that she claimed was her past life had died during childbirth, so it's not unfair to
Right.
assume
She could have
that the
been
other
young.
person lived on.
Right. Whoa, that's so, so wild.
Like, where do you come up with this stuff? Like, how would a child ever come up with it on their own?
Right. Oh my gosh.
And then, of course, I went to Reddit and I found a
Yeah,
lot
this
more
is fun.
stories
I
because
like
I feel
that.
like that's the best place to get these stories
Yeah,
from.
it's a good
It
element.
it was a little bit hard to search for. I mean, granted, I wasn't on like the reincarnation subreddit or
Right.
whatever. I was on like Ask Reddit and like a
Mm-hmm.
mom Reddit page, so it
Mm.
was really
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
But
A
I tried
mom
to
Reddit
find,
page is the good place to go actually for that.
yeah, I tried to find some funny ones, but some of them were like just so shocking
Yeah.
too. So this is the first one. These are all going to be quoted from the Reddit. So I
Cool.
want to hear your thoughts on like all of them because it's
Yay.
so interesting. So this first one says, every once in a while, my 6-year-old son talks about his father from an old life. At first, or his grandfather from an old life. At first, I thought he was talking about my dad that had passed away, but my son had only met him like 4 times in his whole life. But then he corrected me and said, no, not your dad. That was grandpa. I'm talking about my grandfather.
Hmm.
Then he goes into excruciating detail of how they would pick raspberries for food because there was very little food available and it was
Oh.
a very hard life. He always gets really emotional when telling the story, sometimes sobbing, and says his grandfather was killed and that there was no one to protect him and he was all alone in the woods until I found him. So his mom found him.
Uh-huh.
I tell him, honey, I've always had you. I gave birth to you. And he'll say, no, before you found me, I had a different mom, but she died. So my grandfather took care of me. He told me the same story about 40-ish times for about 2.5 years.
Wow, that's a lot of times. That's interesting. I think that this is the most common one that I see like on my feed is knowing their grandparents that they never met in their current life. Like
Mhm.
just telling stories about things that are very specific, like, oh, this is whatever. They'll tell a story about their grandparent, and the mom will be like, oh, here's a picture of my dad. And they're like, no, it's not that. And then she'll show a picture of like her great grandpa that he never met and show a picture and be like, grandpa,
That's grandpa.
yeah, it
Yeah.
recognizes it. So I feel like that's a common one that I've seen, and that's so interesting.
Yeah, and I feel like that's something that a lot of people find like comfort in too, because they'll
Yeah,
think of it as like maybe a more religious aspect, and they're like, well, if there is a heaven, my deceased
right.
relatives were up in heaven taking care of my baby before I was
Before
able
I
to
met
become
them.
pregnant with the
Yeah,
baby.
that's so wild. Oh,
I also think of it kind of like in a ghostly sense of like,
yeah.
well, if ghosts are real, if this
Mm-hmm.
energy is like still living on the same plane as us or whatever, it could be like the grandparents are still walking around on Earth
Right.
and the kids can only see them. And I'm like, oh, that's so scary, but it's so cool.
I know, right?
Okay, my
Wow.
next story. I used to watch my nephew when he was about 3 or 4. One day he was at my house and pointed to a magnet of Arizona. It had a
Hmm.
picture of the desert with rock formations. The kid pointed at it and asked where it was. He said he used to live by red rocks like that with his first family, who all had straight dark hair. His is blonde and curly now. And that he had a mom and a dad, and he had a brother until he went too far into the desert and too close to dark and got eaten by not dogs, not wolves, but smaller. I said, coyotes? And he kind of mouthed the word and said, oh, that's what you call them? Then he was sad and didn't want to talk about it anymore. So we had lunch, and that was the first and last time he mentioned it.
Wait, that's so interesting because that is a problem in Arizona.
Is it?
Yeah, I don't know if it's exactly coyotes or if it's another similar dog like species
Mm.
like that, but as specifically in Phoenix, I know that animal is like overrun, like it's an actual problem. So it's actually
Oh,
funny that he said that because that is also could be a very realistic thing. And how would
yeah.
he know
How
that,
would he know that if he's not
Yeah,
from there?
that's so interesting.
Yeah, and like that story doesn't say where he actually came from, but
Right, that's true.
this
Mhm.
next one's really funny. So when I was 3, I used to tell my mom stories about my other family every night before bed. The
Wow.
siblings and I had a dog too. One day she took me to Target and I told her I wanted big girl undies. She said she would buy them for me and I could wear them when I was potty trained. I told her that my other family had already potty trained me, so I can start wearing them now. I
Wow.
put them on that day and never had an accident after that. She never potty trained me and was just shocked.
That's wild.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah, you never, I mean, like, if you're not familiar with kids or having kids, then it probably doesn't sound super crazy, but a kid potty training themselves is nuts.
Yeah.
Like, just
And
all of a sudden, never has an accident again.
like how?
Yeah, that's wild.
Weird.
Oh my
These
gosh.
stories
Not
are all
Target.
funny. I know, that's funny. Okay, so the next sentence says, when he was around 4, my grandson used to talk about his job at the ice factory. One
Oh.
day he was talking about his boss Farvo and the day he quit. I I asked him why he
What?
quit, and he turned to me and said quite passionately said, "I'll tell you why I quit. They made me work 15 days in a row without a break, and I've had enough of that." It was weird hearing all that righteous anger coming out of that little boy.
Oh my gosh. That is so funny. That one has me cracking up. Not Farvo. When you
I
said
know.
working at an ice factory, the immediate first thought I had, I don't know if you remember this, like the first scene of Frozen, if you've seen Frozen, where he's doing the
Yeah,
ice. That's what it reminds me of.
that's very funny.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. During dinner, he asked me if the inside of. Oh, wait. I should say this is another story. It's not the same Farvo story.
Yeah, this is not little working kid.
Yes.
New one.
During dinner, he asked me if the insides of his stomach is 5 meters. I went and looked online, and the small intestine is about 6 meters. And I told
Oh,
him, wow, yeah, you were close. The small intestine is about 6 meters. Did you learn that somewhere at school? And he replied with, oh, not at school. I learned it when I was like daddy's age, when I was old like him. I thought that was strange. And I asked, oh, what else happened when you were old? But then he bursted up and needed to use the restroom. I haven't followed
oh,
up after that. We are in the United States and rarely use measurements in meters, so
yeah.
I don't think he would have learned it at daycare. In the past, he has mentioned going to college back home. And when we say, oh, back in New Jersey, he said, no, in New York. We moved to California from New Jersey this past year, and maybe it's a coincidence, but we never went into NYC with him to have referenced that's where we lived in New Jersey.
Interesting.
I feel
I've
like that
not
one's
heard these
crazy.
stories about when I was older. Like, I've never heard of that before. So that's really interesting. I learned that
Yeah.
when I was old, like dad.
I thought
I'm
that was
crying.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, when dad was old and I was like him.
Dang. And I did think immediately when I heard that, when I heard meters, I was like, oh, international story. And then when
Yeah,
she
that's
said
what
like,
I did
no, we're in the
too.
US, I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I was reading these yesterday and I was like, wait.
Yeah.
The end kind of confused me of that one, but I was like, oh, well, that makes
Hmm.
sense. Okay. These ones are a little bit longer.
Okay.
So this one says, when my youngest son was 2, he was playing in my kitchen cabinet. He put a metal strainer on his head and was making shooting sounds. I
Oh.
asked him why he put that strainer on his head, and he looked at me as if I was crazy. He put his hand on his hip and he said, I'm an Army fighter pilot, Mom. Don't you know that? And
That's
I
cute.
said, No, I don't know that. And he said, Yes, Mom. I crashed and burned. And when I woke up, I was with you. He was only 2 years old and had never watched army movies, nor had he been exposed to anything like that. But he
Whoa.
was very clear about it. I believed him without a doubt. Also, this is the mom now telling a story about herself.
Hmm.
Also, ever since I was 3, I've had a reoccurring dream, but more like a memory of dying in 1923. It
So
was
specific.
1923, and I was coming home from a vaudeville show with 3 friends. It was a big city, and I'm not sure where. I was dressed in a flapper dress with blue crystals dangling all over it with a matching little disc-shaped hat. We were
Hmm.
talking about how fun the show was, and I was so excited. I turned to walk to backwards so I could face my friends, and I stepped off the curb. A huge car with I I feel like these words are wrong. A huge car with metal over the front tires was speeding and hit the left side of my body. I remember lying in the street. The driver got out and seemed drunk. My friends were all gathered around with scared looks on their faces, and then everything went dark. In this life, I have a huge dark birthmark on the left side of my body, exactly where the car struck me. I'm always online searching for the dress I was wearing and the type of vehicle. The dress was something only a well-to-do woman would wear, and I know I was 17 and came from a rich family. I have
Huh.
memories of a large home with stairs in the front leading to the door and servants in the home. There was a large yard where we had a former we had or my former parents had large parties. I don't know who I was, but I clearly remember that awful day I died. This is why I believed my 2-year-old when he said he was an army fighter pilot. But maybe we knew each other in that life. I don't know, but it was real.
That's crazy. Oh my gosh. I like how she's like, I have a reoccurring dream. I'm like, no, sister, that is called a nightmare. That is
Yeah.
so scary to have to like have that dream over and over and over again.
hmm I
Ugh.
feel like it was so interesting how it kind of like switched from like her talking about her
Yeah.
kids like story, and then she's like,
Yeah.
wait, I have a story
She's
too.
like, I have every reason to believe in this, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
Wow.
This next one, Erica, is crazy.
Okay, the first four words, I'm like, oh, okay.
I know. It says, I have 10 children. I adopted all of them, and
Wow.
I gave each of them a necklace when they had turned 9 years old. Each necklace had a different space thing on it based what I had named them. My
Oh.
oldest, Moon, who was
Okay, this
11
sounds
at the
so fake.
I
I'm
know it
sorry.
does. It
The
might not be
planet
real.
names, but no, it's interesting. It's interesting.
My
Okay.
oldest, Moon, who was 11 at the time, walked into the garage one day while I was working on the car. He said, Dad, what's a hatchet? I looked at him a little confused by the
Okay.
question. I stopped working and walked up to him. A hatchet is like an axe, except smaller, to sum it up, I told him. And he said, Can it kill someone? I'm
Okay.
shocked, but I still answer the question. Well, yes, it could, he responds. Then why did someone kill Michael with it?
Oh.
And then the dad says, I'm shocked. I stand up very nervous as I ask him, Moon, who's Michael? And then Moon says, I was Michael before I died. I'm
Oh.
very nervous, but I shrug it off as child's imagination. A week later, I read in the newspaper Michael Smith slashed in the left side of his face with a hatchet found dead in his neighbor's backyard. My son Moon has a birthmark on the left side of his face that covers
Oh.
his face. This shocked me to my core, but I never told Moon. He was right.
I don't know if I would tell Moon either. That's very interesting. Eee, that one
I
is
thought that one was
giving creepy.
crazy.
Yeah,
That
that
one
one's
was
giving me
like
shiver
ugh,
vibes.
skin crawling
Yes,
vibes.
yes. Oh my gosh.
Okay, this is the last one. So, when my son was very young, like 2 years old, we were camping by a lake. He put on his dad's straw hat and picked up a piece of driftwood and began to stalk his sister in the woods. He would duck behind trees and peer out, holding the driftwood like a rifle. We
Oh.
are no weapons of any kind household, and he had never seen a gun, even in a book. We were freaked out, but shrugged it off. Fast forward a few months, and he began speaking in complete sentences like an adult. He would sit on my lap and hold my face in his hands and say, But I already loved you. At
Oh.
age 3, he became obsessed with helicopters and machinery of all kinds. Once, while he was in his car seat one day, he told me how an internal combustion engine
Oh
works,
my
and he
gosh, this
was
is Angelo.
spot on.
Oh my gosh.
He also told me about the differences between helicopters and airplanes and how helicopters lift off the ground using the blades to displace air. All strange for sure, but kids are really smart, so I just thought he was a wonder kid. One day, shortly after his fourth birthday, he was playing with a toy helicopter and he said, Mommy, watch. He made an explosion noise and then crashed the helicopter into the bed and matter of factly stated, That's how I died.
No. Oh my gosh.
He saw my look of horror and said, Don't worry. I was okay even when I was dead. I was flying in the sky all by myself, and then these men came and they showed me you and told me that you were my new mommy, and but you were a teeny tiny baby. And mommy, I already loved you.
Aw, that's so cute.
I know. And then the storyteller goes to say, I was a teeny tiny baby during the Vietnam War, and I truly believe that my son was a soldier who was killed in a helicopter crash. He was also my I see dead people kid. And there's some hair-raising stories there too. He's now in his mid-20s, having survived being a highly sensitive young man in the US public school system. He is extremely kind and lovely man that has zero memories of his past life currently. I think about the story he shared with me, and it gives me hope knowing that we somehow choose this existence and that there's a purpose for our being here, maybe.
Whoa, that's so crazy. That one is a really good ender. I'm glad you did
Hmm.
that one last. That one's really cute.
Yeah, it was very nice. I was like, oh, that was really interesting that they had said like that they already loved them and that
Yeah.
they knew them when they were flying through the sky and you were a teeny tiny baby, but they were a teeny tiny baby
Yeah.
during the war. And I was just, that was so
Yeah, that one's
crazy.
really cute. That kind of reminds me, I always see these things on Instagram, always. How people are like, tell me how my daughter that I just had has been in my body for my whole life because I've always had the same eggs that I was born with, and also those were in my mom because she had her same eggs, which were me. Like, the thought of that
That is
reminds me of this
scary.
story because he's like,
Yeah,
he already knew when the mom was a baby. I don't know. It's just weird. I don't
that
know. It's
is
so
weird.
wild.
Ugh.
Wow. Oh,
Do you have
shivers.
any thoughts?
No, I like these. I actually did have one thought and I was like, should I save this for a surprise? Maybe it could still be a surprise, but I found this podcast and I haven't started listening to it because I think I'm kind of scared of it, to be honest.
Oh.
But I found this podcast and it's called, let me tell you guys really quick. NDE, near death experiences.
Mm.
I guess I've never heard of that acronym, but I guess that's what it means. I don't think that's what the podcast is called, but I want to shout it out really quick. Have not listened to a single one because I don't know. I'm just like, I don't know what I'm going to find on this, but I thought it's called The Other Side NDE, near death experiences. And it's literally every episode just a new person and they tell their story. So it's like woman dies during pregnancy, receives memory downloads, like
Oh.
clinically dead for 20 minutes. Woman crosses over and is shown uh the truth about Earth. And every single one's something different, different experience, different person. But I think it's just interesting to listen to. I don't know.
Yeah, that is really interesting. I actually just listened to a podcast. I'm going to see if I can find it really
Yeah.
quick. It was an interview on the Two Girls, One Ghost podcast.
Hmm.
And it was about this woman that she went into anaphylactic shock and she had something called rebound anaphylaxis. So she continued to go into
Hmm.
anaphylaxis after like the first time. And she was talking about all of these things that she was seeing in her,
Yeah.
like, in her coma, I guess. And she was talking about it as more of a religious side of things.
Yeah.
Like she was like a really religious person, so she was talking about how she like saw God and how she knew that seeing God meant that like an afterlife was real.
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
really, really interesting.
Yeah, that's how those are. I feel like some of the titles are like woman, dies and met Jesus, then came back. And then there's other ones that are like life is a video game. And so it's interesting to hear like all these people have a completely different experience with their near death
Yeah.
experience.
And
I
it's
don't know.
so weird. It's just all
It
so
is.
weird.
It is. It's really weird.
I'm still
What
trying
a
to
good
find her name.
topic. This was definitely not my surprise topic. So everyone get ready because I have something different, but this was really, really cool one. I know you like, I feel like you like a story episode too. So I feel like this is a good way
Hmm.
to bring it in. Like this is a
Yeah.
new type of story we haven't done.
I also just think like it's just so interesting because like
Yeah.
I love to learn about the things that are controversial because like there is
Yeah.
no explanation. Like we don't know what the explanation.
Right.
Like we don't know if a child is able to come up with these stories and just be like a great
Creative.
storyteller, but we
Yeah.
don't know. So
Yeah.
I think it's interesting to
Or
look into.
creative's just the best word we have for it because we can't
Yeah.
literally can't even comprehend.
Yeah. And
Who
like,
knows?
do I think it's real? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think that I can ever tell you if anything's real, but I
That's
think
how
it's
I feel.
interesting to learn
I
about.
know you're like, what are your thoughts? I'm like, this was cool. I don't know what else to say. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't tell you like, oh yeah, I believe it. I don't. I feel like it's one of those things too where I feel like if this happened to me, it would be a completely different experience than listening to it happening to someone else. You know?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
there's that too.
I also wish that I had like a firsthand experience or
Yeah,
like I knew somebody that had this so I could share their story.
I
I
know.
am really intrigued by the book that I was talking about though, and I
Yeah.
hope that I can.
Sounds cool.
I don't know if I could read the whole thing, but I would like to
Right.
read some of the
Get
case
through it.
studies that he included in there just because I think it'd be a really dense book, especially because he was a
Yeah.
psychiatrist.
Yeah, it would be really interesting just to get a taste of like what exactly was he looking at.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I still
Dang.
can't find the name of this person, which is really frustrating because I know where the episode should be at in
Right.
the list here, but I can't find it.
If we find it, you guys, we could put it on the screen.
Yes.
But
But
dang,
that's all
well,
I have.
what a good episode. Well, thanks for surprising us for the 100th episode.
Of
If you
course.
guys liked this episode, please let us know. Yeah, tell us if you want our the near death experience episode. That would be
Yeah,
really
that would
cool.
be really cool.
Maybe we can like look up some of the podcasts or watch some of the podcasts and then talk about it, do a little research kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Could be really cool, but I think that was a really fun topic. I'm so
Thank
excited.
you.
What a good one. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, like vote in the poll or answer the comments on Spotify. Also on YouTube, please leave us a comment. Nobody ever comments on our YouTube. You guys
Yeah, nobody
subscribe,
likes
you guys
us.
watch, but we want to hear your comments. We want to know your thoughts because how are we supposed to know what you like if you don't tell us? Please let us know.
Hmm.
But yeah, this was so much fun. Thanks, Marissa, for bringing our topic. I guess
Of
that
course.
pretty much wraps it up. We can let you guys go. Get excited for the next couple weeks of the podcast. We have just been rolling out all the new content, you guys.
Hmm.
So next week we do have our book club episode. I want to give that a shout out real quick. I am at 47, maybe 50% of the book. Really good. I'm loving it. I'm reading it very quickly.
Yay.
So that's exciting. And yeah, we're going to talk about it next week. It's called The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. Marissa read the series. I just read the first book. I'm really excited to discuss all of that. I think it's going to be a really good one. And actually, next week's my surprise topic. I didn't realize that. Or not next week, but the week after book club's my surprise topic. I didn't realize. So
Okay.
I have to get my research on. I know what it is, but I haven't researched it. So
Yeah,
I guess get excited. We have another one coming up.
I'm so excited.
I know that's going to be super fun. So yeah, I guess that's it. Like I said, follow us on Spotify, subscribe to us on YouTube, download our podcast on Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen, we will be there. And if we're not, let us know because we want to be there wherever we can be.
Yes.
Follow us on Instagram at We Run on Coffee every week. You guys know, or if you don't, now you know. We post stories on our Instagram stories every Wednesday that show little pictures of some things we talk about in the episode that are kind of like an inside joke, a little secret. So they're called If You Know, You Know stories. And if you miss them on Wednesday, you can find them on our profile in the little highlight section. They'll
Hmm.
always be there. So just look for the episode number. This one's number 100. So they'll be called number 100 and you can
Yeah.
check them out. I think that's it. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for listening to our recent guest episodes. Let us know if you're liking those as well. And now I'm just rambling. So that's it. We should go. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye.
And with that, I'm Erica.
And I'm Marissa.
And we run on coffee.